I'm live. I'm live. Nobody's here yet. You know what? That's fine because I'm starting like 5 minutes early, even though I just posted like 10 minutes ago that I'm starting a live stream at 2:30. So I was trying to give it a little bit. I like to give a little bit of time there. I don't even know why I'm talking right. Oh, somebody's watching. um, yeah, so I only gave like a 15-minute warning and then I started 5 minutes early, so really it was only a 10-minute warning. I'm just doing my usual thing. It's the dead of night. I recently went on a trip, and during my vacation, I managed to adjust my sleeping schedule to something semi normal. I'd sleep from like, midnight to 9 in the morning. Um, wasn't home more than 3 days before now. I'm already back to going to bed at like 5 in the morning. And I got a little baby pimple here, but you can just see it looks like I just got punched in the face. I've had bags under my eyes all day. I slept last night was, and I'm sorry, I'm babbling and just kind of talking about my day, whatever. I'm trying to give a couple of minutes, of course, playing my trusty Xbox because it helps me. It makes me not just focus on the vlog, which in turn can make you start wondering after a little while, like, oh, I want to be done already. But if you've got something like this going on next to you, like you're not really thinking about that, and I feel like it just makes it easier to vlog. But anyway, I'm saying hello. I'm kind of here just chit-chatting with you guys for a little while, kind of as an intro, just to give, I mean, I know it's 2:30 in the morning, but I'm just giving some people a little bit of time to pepper in. So once I actually start the story that I, said this live stream is going to be about, there'll be, I don't know, 5 people. I'm not waiting for 5 people to show up, but that's all I can hope for, being a pretty small channel in the dead of night, that I can get 5 people to watch my live stream. I hope I gave it an interesting enough name. But yeah, so I'm just giving a couple of minutes, just sitting here chit-chatting with you to let a few people pepper in before I dive into the story. And I apologize. I am really, it's allergies, it's a lot of stuff. I'm feeling really plugged up, so I'm sorry. I may periodically sniffle really hard. That's just something that's going to go on. Alas. But yeah. So no, don't steal this car. Don't steal this car. No, don't get out, idiot. Yes, take this car. Jeez, what? There's not even a discussion to be had. Yeah, so it's the early morning hours of June. Wait a minute. Is it June 11th? Yeah, okay, so it's June. This is crazy. I'm going to just tell you right now, for whoever's watching, I was already contemplating doing it, and I hadn't really, looked into it that much yet. I was kind of getting resources together. But someone asked me recently if I was going to do a video on the infamous and still unsolved murder of the Hill family, who lived in the Ardenwald area, kind of North Milwaukee, and were all brutally murdered. Someone went to their home and just took an axe to everyone's head. The husband, William, the wife, Ruth, and then the 2 children from Ruth's first marriage, Philip and Dorothy, they all were just had their faces just caved in with an axe. Pretty much none of their heads were even recognizable. It was just such a violent, brutal killing. It just happened just a couple miles north from where I predominantly grew up in. Well, I'm now kind of setting plans in motion to do probably what's going to end up being a pretty lengthy video on that. I want to actually, because it's something that happens, in this area that I live in as opposed to somewhere far away. So I don't know when I'm going to do it because of all this COVID stuff. Of course, I could get a ride to various places and maybe hopefully, be able to drive, because I want to go and get video of certain locations in relation to this video. because I feel like I'm gonna end up putting quite a bit of time into this, just because of the information that I found is a lot of info. What are security guys doing? Are you just leaving? You want to fight? You want to fight? Come on, get in my face, man. But yeah, so that's now getting more into the works. And I've spent most of the day going through all the research that I found, and now that I've gone through the research that I found, I'm trying to find more. I want to cover all my boundaries because there's some local characters that are thought maybe might be responsible or came up under suspicion as being responsible in this case. There we go. But there's also suggestion that there might have been like an axe wielding serial killer going all across America around that time, and that person may have been responsible for the Hill murders. I'm still early in my investigation, so I don't know yet. That's part of the fun. But yeah, I'm really excited at the God, I miss that guy. I'm really excited at the prospect of doing this video. And it's definitely something I'm gonna end up putting a lot of time into. And it'll probably be a fairly long video, easily over an hour. So yes, very excited about that, and I spent quite a bit of time working on that today. Where's that? Oh, the house that the Hill family lived in. It's, of course, I'm relying a lot on 1911 papers from 1911 when the murder happened, and it was in the Ardenwald neighborhood in northern Milwaukee, so just a little bit south of the Portland border. And yeah, some said it was near the Willamette River, but it seems like the more research I did, it's more kind of just in northern Milwaukee. If you know your way around Milwaukee, it's maybe where their house was just a little bit north of where the Milwaukee Providence Hospital is located. That's probably not going to mean anything to anybody who isn't from the Portland area, but people who kind of know the Portland area might know where the Providence Milwaukee Hospital is. Anyway, just south of Portland. In fact, one of the primary suspects is described as living in the area, but he lived in Sellwood for a while, and Sellwood's in southeast Portland, but just right across the border from Milwaukee. And yeah, so I'm going to be diving nose deep. I mean, I already dove nose deep into it today, but I feel like there's a lot. Like, today was just about going through all the old newspaper articles I found on it. Now I need to, go beyond that and go through any other sources I can find. And of course, figuring out which ones are reliable and which ones aren't, which is really important. That's the thing about these whole newspaper articles is, like in the case, one little detail in the Hill family murders is they tried to establish when the family was actually murdered, what time. There was a alarm clock in the house, and it had been knocked on the floor. And in early newspaper reports, they said that the time on the clock was 1:10 a.m. So they were like, oh, well, the murder probably happened a little after 1 a.m. Then it became I just died. Then it became like 12:52, and it seems like 12:52 is the official time. But again, all that inaccurate dissemination of evidence, inaccurate spreading of, or not evidence but information. Inaccurate spreading of information has always existed. But back in 1911, you had newspaper reporters running around. A lot of them were probably just asking other people for information. When they got to a site, and there's just, you got to kind of pick and choose you can tell kind of which articles actually a lot of research and investigation was dedicated to, and then there's other ones where you can just tell no effort was put in. So you're like, well, this is giving information that doesn't match with all these other articles, and it looks like it was kind of lazily written, so probably not going to rely too heavily on this. Um, but anyway, again, that was just me kind of filling in, doing a little filler the first 10 minutes of the video, waiting for a couple more people to pepper in, because I'm not here to talk about the Hill murders too much since I'm doing a video on it. I don't want to spoil everything now, but I am going to start diving into the main focus of my video, which is, I said after my last live stream was it was a shitty week, and I just decided to sit in front of the camera for a while, and I actually didn't realize till the end that a lot of comments were coming through because I zoomed in. I'd used, you can go up to your menu bar when you're online and click, zoom in, and it, makes everything bigger. So like, wow, the camera can be filling in like this part of the screen. You zoom in and it's like, the whole thing pretty much. So I wasn't even seeing that people were leaving comments, and honestly, I really didn't care. I wasn't on there. This wasn't a, hey everybody, how's it going? Give me your questions. This was just, it was kind of a rough day. It was a crappy week, and I just kind of went online to just ramble. So it wasn't really it wasn't really being done with the objective of having any give and take. I just was there rambling. So, whatever. And so yeah, so now I've got it, everything set up normal, so I can actually see when people comment now. So obviously, if you want to throw a comment in there, that's totally fine. And obviously, I'm going to be telling this story about this house that me and my friend explored a couple years ago. So, obviously, I'm going to try to tell as much as I can. But if you have any questions as the story goes on, you might even help me remember things that I've either forgotten or wasn't going to think to tell about. Yeah, I am feeling better now. For those who, well, I mean, most people who weren't here for I did a live stream a couple days ago. We had to. I went on a trip with my girlfriend and her family to Sun River. My first time ever going there. I'll tell you, it's very interesting in this current time in America when there's protesting going on and a lot of racial strife. And here we are going to Sun River, one of the most white, privileged and white towns in Oregon, and it's all calm, quiet, and serene. And meanwhile, all this other stuff's going on around you. But anyway, we came home and immediately noticed that one of our cats was kind of acting a little bit strange. Took her to the vet. They thought she had a slip disc, and she seemed to be getting worse. So, like about a day and a half later, we took her back, and as it turned out, whatever she had, it was like spreading rapidly, and she was just having neurological pain all up her spine, and it was like she was probably going to die soon. And we ended up putting her to sleep because there was, the longer we kept her alive, we were just going to keep her in constant pain. It would have been inhumane to not put her down. So it was just, literally like within, like, I don't even think, it wasn't even 15 minutes of being home, we noticed that she was acting a little strange. And so, everybody, when they come home from their vacations, they want to have the moment you get home from a vacation, the first thing you want to do is rest and relax a little bit. So that was rough. She was about 10 years old, so she was a little, obviously, cats can die at any age, but she was still, as far as I'm concerned, a little bit young. And it's really unfortunate. Another one of our cats died about a year and a half ago, and she was about the same age. She ended up having a kidney issue. That's 5 cats whose deaths I've had to experience, and it never gets easier when you're dealing with the losses of pets and serious loved ones. So yeah, it's just one of those shitty situations. So yeah, so I just, it was, I don't remember. I think it was the night, like she was put to sleep in the morning, and I was live streaming, like later at night. So it was, like 15, 16 hours after, and I was just, rambling and playing my game and just kind of just just turned on the live stream and was like, whatever, let's go for it. And it kind of helped, you know. I was able to talk about it a little bit more in depth. But oh crap, you know, don't take your eye off the road. I took my eye off the road for a second. I almost went off a cliff. What are these? What are you doing here, campers? No, you're fine. You're good. I'm not gonna mess with you. You guys are just hanging out. I'm sorry. I love being mischievous, playing ground. Hey, can I get something out of your bag? Sorry, dude. I didn't mean to bump into you. But anyway, now for the feature presentation. So I posted this video. I don't even know if I still have it up. But yeah, it was in an exploration my friend and I went on, and I didn't really the kind of the core of like what I'm going to be discussing in terms of like, oh, this was interesting, didn't really come to me till after, till probably like a week or two after we did the exploration, because of course when you're I love urbexing, and I haven't done it in like almost 3 years, and I really want to get out there and do it again, because it's been so long. And I used to do it like once a week. Me and my friend would kind of go out and do it. And so when you're in the moment, you don't get to do it that often. You get real excited about just the thrill of exploration and all that stuff. And so, of course, I wasn't thinking analytically about the location. And again, I'm not thoroughly convinced that just the strange thoughts and feelings I had from this place are an accurate representation of what actually went on there. I'm just telling the story for the fun of it. It's not that I'm definitively convinced that this is what's going on or what went on. It's just an interesting story to tell. So, and I mean, it could be true, even though it's a little unlikely. Let's put it that way. So, to start things out, so we explored this place near the end of 2016. It was me and my friend Nick who used to explore with me a lot. Funny thing is, we used to explore a lot together, and then I moved in and we became roommates, and we were still good friends, but we pretty much stopped exploring. I think we did one or two more exploration efforts, and then we kind of just stopped doing it. And I kind of started, my content started becoming more Portland centric. He started doing other stuff because we were in talks for a while about really going all in with our exploration stuff. Like we had hours and hours of conversations about making our, because we each had our own YouTube channel, but we were doing stuff together so we could, like, you know, share video and share ideas. And we were having serious conversations about, you know, promotion and, you know, merch and that kind of stuff. And just, it just never quite happened. And he moved to Seattle. He fell in love, moved to Seattle. And he's kind of, you know, kind of doing other stuff. And I mean, I'm in Portland, he's in Seattle. It's not like we're never going to see each other again. But, you know, maybe somewhere along the line we'll be able to explore a little bit again. I really wanted to. I wanted to do this for my birthday a couple years ago. I wanted to plan a really long, a really big exploration trip for my birthday. Now, the problem is my birthday is in November. So usually around the time of my birthday, the weather is just garbage. And I really wanted to plan a, like, preferably in, like, the, like a big Eastern Oregon exploration. There's lots of abandoned stuff out there. There's a lot of natural beauty. I haven't seen much of it. There was a lot of reasons, and I was starting to, like, plan it out. And one of the things that stopped me from doing it, I was like, I'm going to put all this work into it, and then, like, it's going to be snowing or it's going to be pouring down rain, and, like, we're going to end up canceling. It's going to be a waste of time. Then, lo and behold, the weather was great, and even on my birthday, it was like 65 degrees and mostly sunny in mid-November. But I still want to, like, plan out some events like that. my biggest issue is I don't have a car, so I can't just go out and explore on my own, obviously anywhere outside of Portland, so I would need to travel with somebody. And it's kind of frustrating because I've had a couple people, say like they'll just message me out of nowhere and be like, "Hey man, you want to go exploring sometime?" And like people I've never heard from before. I apologize. I'm itching my nose because it's a little plug. People I've never like seen before. Some of whom who like they'll message me on Facebook or YouTube, and they're like, I mean, I don't want to be judgmental, but they're kind of sketchy looking people, and they'll just out of nowhere just be like, "Hey, like, yeah, come meet up with me at this place sometime. And we'll go explore somewhere." I'm sorry, my nose is getting really itchy. And I'm just like, I don't want to just not answer them, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, I don't know you. You're saying like, "Oh, just come over here and meet me, and we'll go explore somewhere." So I'm like, you're kind of sketchy looking, and I'm just supposed to go meet you somewhere, and then I'm gonna get into your car, and you're gonna just drive me around, and I'm supposed to not be remotely concerned that I'm gonna end up buried in a field somewhere. You know what I mean? A little bit of an extreme, but still, it's just kind of like, because I want to trust people, and if people are going to be like, "Hey, Steve, I love your stuff," oh, all you need to go out and make such and such kind of content is you just need like someone to be able to give you a ride, throw me some money for gas, and I can give you a ride. So I I really want to plan some like weekend type events where you like so even like if I'm traveling with someone who's got like a day job, we can leave on, you know, Friday afternoon or Friday evening, spend all of Saturday looking at stuff, spend most of Sunday looking at stuff, and come home, um, late Sunday. And you have essentially practically 2 full days to just go exploration crazy somewhere. Yeah. So anyway, of course, took no time for me to get sidetracked. Anyway, so me and my friend Nick used to explore a lot more, and there's really near the beginning of my channel, there's a succession of videos um, we do that I called Travels with Nick. Because those videos, me and him doing stuff together. And, oh God, I'm going into the water. And we mostly did it like October into October 2016 into like very early January 2017, and then it kind of stopped. And he kind of started going a new direction, and I kept doing my content. And we explored a succession of places. We explored the Blue Heron paper mill that got closed down in Oregon City that we thought was going to get, because it's going to get torn down, but we thought it was going to get torn down a little sooner than it actually was. And I don't know, they may have started tearing it down. I haven't been down in that area of Oregon City in a while, but it's one of those places that there's a stay out, no trespassing sign every like 10 feet. But we went in there anyway, and we took the risk because we thought it was going to get torn down, and we were like, we want to get video inside this place and get video that other people just aren't going to get. And we did it, and I posted the video on YouTube, and someone saw it and reported it to whoever's like in control of the property, and whoever controls the property is a real douchebag. And he like called the police, and he wanted the police to like take us away in handcuffs. Um, and even the officer we spoke to was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, this guy's like a dickhead." And he said he literally went on YouTube and watched our video, and he was like, "I thought it was cool. I liked the video, and like, I get it. You weren't supposed to be there, but." He felt really bad about having to cite us, so we'd have to go to court on a trespassing charge. He was like, "This is so stupid, but the guy made the complaint, so I like have to do this." So he was really cool about it. He thought the guy was a real or like whoever was in control of it was real ticket. And obviously, we knew there was a slight potential that we'd get in trouble for trespassing. And but yeah, we got the last laugh because he wanted us, charged, and he wanted us to go to jail. Like, this guy didn't understand the law at all. He didn't realize that this was a very low end misdemeanor. And on top of that, me and my friend Nick had neither one of us had any kind of criminal record. Um, so, even if we had a pretty firm judge, the judge would have been like, these guys didn't mean anything. They had a good motivation for doing what they do. They don't have a extensive criminal record. These guys aren't, you know, causing problems all over town. And so if we agreed to admit that we did it, which of course we did, we weren't denying we did it. We knew we were trespassing. She had it dropped down to a violation, pretty much the same level as a traffic ticket, and we had to pay a fine. And I was like, we both felt so good when we left, even though we had to pay a fine, because it was like a middle finger to the people that ran the place that thought we were going to get into a lot of trouble and actually get charged with a crime, and we ended up not. So fuck that guy. Um, and that was one of the last, because we did that on New Year's Day 2017, and I think we did like one more exploration after that. And I don't know. I think, because we were actually urbexing, and it was like, I don't know. It kind of, I think, made both of us a little uneasy about urbexing in places that we couldn't tell whether they were private property or not. And that may have had an effect on us, like not doing it as much anymore. He also liked to smoke a lot of weed too. So a lot of time he would go to work, get home, smoke a bunch of weed, and pass out the rest of the night. Um, but yeah, it was late November, I believe, that we actually urbexed this house that I'm going to talk. I'm 30 minutes in and I'm just now getting into the story, but this is how I am. A long way to a short point. And so I first noticed this house that we explored. It was while I was with my girlfriend and her family. I was spending the weekend at her place, and her family was going to, they were heading out to, the rural outskirts to get a Christmas tree. They like to get their Christmas tree early. So again, it's November, like mid November. And we went way out there to get a tree. And so, it's kind of a long drive. So, you get into the car and you're like, woohoo, we're going to get a Christmas tree. And then like an hour goes by and you're kind of like, okay, I'm getting kind of bored now of being in this car. So I was just kind of lazily just staring out the window. And as I was staring out the window, all of a sudden I saw an abandoned house we went by. And all of a sudden my eyes perked, like, okay, we're out here a little ways, but we're not too far out of the way. Like, me and Nick could possibly come out here, or me and somebody else. And so I kind of looked around, and I was trying to like get a feel for the area around me, because I knew I'd have to like pinpoint this location so that, if I was ever to come out in urbex here, I would be able to get back to this house, because I had a kind of a general idea of where we were, but like if I just stopped paying attention, probably never would have found that house again. So that was where the seeds were planted. It was like, oh, an abandoned house. It was kind of honestly, it was like a kind of a reddish house, and the house actually was in good condition. But you could tell it hadn't, even from the street, you could tell it hadn't been inhabited in a while. Um, like the driveway leading up to the house was just overcome with moss. There was like a couple inches of moss. Like, you could tell by how flat it was. You could tell that, obviously no cars have been parked there for a while. No one was monitoring the property, but the house itself was actually not in bad shape for being a house that had probably been empty for at least a couple of years. But again, it was kind of out there. It wasn't like a house that was in the city or on the edge of the city where a lot of people would go out and explore, and a lot of people would come and tag it up. So that's what I remember, is that it was in was in pretty good condition, the house as a whole. So after seeing it, it was constantly there in kind of the back of my mind. Like I knew I was gonna want to bring it up to Nick, like, hey, I saw this abandoned house. We can go out here and just see if it's worth a good investigation or worth a video. And we'd we'd done an exploration, I want to say the day before, and it turned out pretty good. And so I was like, hopefully this will go well because when you go out and explore in several locations in a row, some of them are just going to end up being kind of dull and uneventful. So we had this good exploration the day before. He had told me, hey, if you wanted to, because it was the weekend, he was like, hey, you want to do this again tomorrow? I'm totally down. And so I mentioned this house to him. He was like, yeah, okay. So he picked me up kind of late morning. We had a couple hours before I think he had to do something. And he was like, where do you want to go? And I couldn't think of anything else except that one house. I was like, hey, there's this, I mean, it's a little bit of a drive. Are you cool with that? And um, and he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so we got in his Toyota. He had like a late '90s Toyota Camry. That was another important thing that stopped us from doing videos pretty quick. Was again, I didn't have a car. He had this Toyota Camry, and it ended up dying out on him not long after that. And so he was without a car for a while, and he'd periodically bum his parents' car, but he was pretty much without a vehicle. So that was another thing that stopped us from exploring after that. And he ultimately got himself a VW Bug because he's a big Volkswagen guy, and it was just pretty much the body of the car with a few parts in it. And there's actually a video. You got to go back to like 2017 on my channel, but I did kind of a chronology video of him bringing this Bug back from the dead, and me and our other roommate helping him carry. He literally rebuilt the engine in his bedroom, and then we helped him carry it down to the car and reattach it to the car, and then I got some video of me and him going to like the store around the corner, being like, here's the maiden voyage of his Bug that he completely rebuilt. So he had this kind of maroon Toyota Camry, and we drove out there. Unfortunately, again, I kept track of where this place was. I mean, I still was kind of within a couple of miles. Like like we'd be driving and we'd be like a mile or two away, and he'd be like, "How close are we?" And I'm like, "We're at least within 5 miles or something like that." But I knew driving that it was going to be off to our right, so I just had my eyesight just constantly looking that direction. And then, fortunately, I caught a view of it because it was in a house that was easy to miss. There was just enough trees in the way that you had a quick view and then it was gone. And if you missed it, you'd drive on and wonder: is it around the corner? Is it around this corner? Is it around that corner? What the hell happened to this house? And so we didn't want to park in the driveway because there was another house that was like, I don't know, about 100 feet down, and it was obstructed by trees. It was interesting because there was really nothing out there except this abandoned house and this other house that clearly wasn't abandoned that somebody was living in. And then there just kind of was nothing else for like a mile or two. And so, we didn't know if the people that were living in this other house, maybe they were, whether they had a reason to or not. Like, we didn't know if, like, did these people were they keeping an eye on this property? Like, so fortunately, there was some obstruction, like with trees and obviously, the house itself. But we decided to pull off and park on the side of the road, a little bit, not too far further down, but a little bit further down from where the house actually was, and then walked up to the house. We had barely any space to park. I'm surprised nobody sideswiped his car while we were there because he was literally right on the edge of the highway, and it was not a very wide road. But we, sorry, I think someone's trying to mess with me. Oh, how's it going, dude? You shouldn't have messed with me. And so we got there, and I don't know what to expect. I just, you see an abandoned house one day, and then you go back to check it out, and you don't know what you're going to find. Um, that's the risk you take when you go urbexing. Like, is this going to be a cool place? Sometimes you may find a house that's like it's abandoned and it's all beaten up and it's kind of cool looking, but at the same time, like there's nothing left in there, and it's just kind of an empty shell of a house. And it's like, I mean, this is cool and all, but like there's nothing here. Like, you give it a 5-minute walkthrough, and it's like, okay, well, done with this place. Not that I'm going to be ungrateful for any urbexing opportunities I can have, but this particular exploration was kind of turning out that way. There was no like we walked up. There was like a little mini garage there, with nothing in it. The doors weren't even shut to it. Like it looked like the doors had been open, and like someone had just like cleared everything out, and like they left in such a rush that they didn't even bother to close the doors, because it was clean, completely cleaned out in there. And so, whatever, we didn't come there to see a garage, we came there to see a house. So my friend walked up to the house, and first thing he did was he went up to the front door. And to his surprise, the door was actually locked, which, it was still abundantly clear that nobody had lived there for a while. So, it wasn't like we were suddenly like nervous that somebody was living there and had just gone away for a little while. We were still pretty convinced that it was abandoned by the state of things. And obviously, someone could have left the house and left it locked. And the windows were really, I mean, obviously the house had been closed up for a long time. The door was locked, all the windows were shut. And the house had been closed up for so long that it was just like this thick muck had built up on the windows. And again, it's November, so there was also a lot of precipitation from just the cold, late fall air. And it was a real hard effort to even get a view inside of the house. Mainly, because of the condensation and this muck that had built up over time. But even then, like, I was able to get a little bit of a view into the place, and it was completely empty. The house had been completely cleaned out. So, it was starting to feel kind of like it was feeling like a crappy urbex experience, because there just wasn't anything going on. There was, nothing in the garage. And like literally when I looked in to the place, I could see a chair, like an old recliner. That was all that was in there, that had been left behind. Otherwise, it was completely empty in this house. So, I figured it was going to be kind of like a dead end, you know, and I still wanted to give it a shot. I wanted to at least give it a walk around. And so, with the front door locked, I went around to the back of the house, and there was like a very thin back. It was weird. It was like a thin back patio, and there was like a pole there that I guess was supposed to double as a railing there to keep you from falling off the edge, because when you got on that railing, you look down and all of a sudden you realize the land behind the house, because when you're next to the house, And alongside it, you're at ground level. Here's the ground and the house is there. But once you got around to the back side, all of a sudden the land dropped and there was this big drop off on the back. So you'd be out on the backyard. There was a steep drop down to the land below. And then there was just kind of, you looked off and it was just, grasslands that went on for miles. And this is where I was lucky that my friend was there with me, because I would have completely missed it. There was, I kind of did my little walk around there, and then I turned to walk back. And as I turned to walk back, um, Nick, who'd been, taking a little bit more time up front, that's when he showed up. And I actually scared the crap out of him, because he was coming around the corner as I was coming around the other corner, and he didn't even know I was there, so he got really thrown. And he was like, "Oh, is there anything back here?" And I was like, there was another door. There's like a back door there. It was also locked. So I was like, "Oh, well, crap. We came all this way out here for nothing." And so I was ready to give up. And Nick actually took a moment to peer over the edge of that railing. I hadn't taken the time to look over the edge of the railing at all. And I had just, sorry, I'm getting distracted. I had paid absolutely no attention at all. He actually looked over the railing and he saw something that I didn't see. Part of the reason why there was a big drop off there in the backyard was, lo and behold, getting the plane. My guy's not getting, I don't know why my guy's not getting into this plane. Anyway, well, that was a waste. He went down, and of course, the moment he was like, "Did you look down here?" I could tell he wasn't just asking me like, "Oh, did you look down here?" He was saying, "Did you look down here? Like, did you see this?" Like, I could tell that he'd actually seen something distinct. And I peered over the edge and realized, oh my God, the reason that the ground, there was such a steep drop off behind the railing in the backyard was, if you went down, there was a doorway into the basement of the home. And the door that had once, been there to this outside entry into the backyard was gone. The door was gone. There was literally an open doorway into the basement. Nothing to stop us from going in. Unfortunately, when we went in, I wasn't able to gain access to the house, even though there was a staircase and a door that led up there, but that door also was locked. So again, here we are in this house that's clearly been abandoned for a long time. There's like practically no, again, I looked in the window upstairs, there's like nothing. There's nothing in there. I'm gonna die. And so again, I'm thinking, there's nothing. Nothing's gonna happen in this place. And then we go into this basement, and it is full of shit. It is a treasure trove. It wasn't like a hoarder's basement, but there was so much stuff in there. There were magazines from the 50s and 60s. There was luggage. There was old little appliances. I found like an old school typewriter down there. I found somebody's journal that had entries from the 1950s in it. Like this was a find in a house that only a little bit before I was like, we're not going to find anything in here. This is a waste. It's just not going to happen. And all of a sudden we were in this basement full of stuff. It just completely blew me away. Completely blew me away. And it completely changed the complexion of the day, because now suddenly we had something to explore. We had something to catch on video, and we were in the basement too long. We were probably in there for about 15 minutes, because after enough time, you pretty much see everything you think you're going to see. And I ended up, yes, it was probably about 15 minutes, something like that. I'm so going to die. Wandering about, and of course I tried to again gain access to that door up to the first floor, or into the main area of the house, and it was locked. I just thought it was so interesting that this house was completely locked up. The front door was locked, the back door was locked, even the door up from the basement was locked. I just thought it was really interesting that whoever had lived here, however many years ago, had, I mean, it looked literally like they just packed all their stuff up and just bailed. Um, left a few things behind, but just straight up bailed. And, but there was this open doorway into the backyard. And while everything inside the house had been gathered and removed, it seemed like everything in the basement had been left behind, and it kind of started developing this sense of like, why is that? I began to wonder. And again, it opens you up to theorization. Doesn't mean you're going to figure anything out. Doesn't mean that just because you're having wild theories about something that it really means anything. But still, it got my wheels spinning a little bit. Why the house had been completely cleaned out, but all this stuff in the basement had been left behind. I mean, there was a wheel, those big wheels that you go like this on, and it's made to like grind your weaponry and axes on, was down there. There was a whole bunch of old chainsaw parts. There was something that was very interesting to me, was there was stuffed animals randomly scattered throughout that basement that really didn't go with the dynamic of everything else, of all the old magazines and chainsaw parts. And it was some elements of the basement were really cool looking, and then some were like a little unnerving to a degree. But we finished our exploration. We were grateful that it turned out to actually be something worthwhile. And again, I wasn't really thinking about it too much, in terms of what is the backstory behind this place we went to. That's how I got my Steve the Amateur Historian moniker, was when we'd go urbexing. After we'd be done, even if I maybe wasn't going to find anything, I would try to look up some information on a place we explored to see if I could find that backstory. Never really found anything about this place. One thing that was interesting though is, I swear, like under the records, like I'm pretty sure I found the address to the house that we had explored, and you try to look up records, in terms of, if you can find records of who lived wherever. It seemed like the last person who had lived there, it was reported that they owned it back in like the 90s or something. So like it seemed like there wasn't really anything on record of anybody actually owning the property for like over 15 years. But when I clicked on the individual who owned it, it was some guy, I don't know, Cliff Johnson or something, I don't know. When I clicked on this guy's name, it brought up like other past, home ownerships, records, rentals, anything like that. And it said a prior address of his was the same address as the apartment complex that me and Nick were living in, which was a pretty decent sized apartment complex. But that threw me. I was like, what are the freaking odds that this random house I see one day, that I'm like, oh, look at that. Let's go. Maybe I'll go urbex that someday. And then I end up going and urbexing it specifically with my friend Nick, and it turns out somebody At least one of the last people who lived there just happened to be someone who also at some point lived in the apartment complex that I wasn't living in with him yet. He was living in there at the time, but I didn't move in till a couple months later. But we got the exploration done. We left. We were like, cool, another exploration under our belts. And that was really it. So then I get home and I start, going through the video I got. I got about 20 minutes of video. I pretty much had my camera going the whole time we were in the basement. So I was like, you never know what we're going to see next around the corner. There was so much shit in that basement. And as I started going through it, now that I'm not worried about videoing stuff and focusing and all that stuff, now I can actually just pause and like look at it more analytically. I started um I started getting really, really kind of thrown by the unsteady dynamic of the whole place. And what I mean by that is how you look in one location and think this looks like the kind of home that this type of person would have. And then you go to another area and see stuff and you'd be like, well, this looks like stuff that will belong to a totally different person. And that's when the theorization kind of started for me. But the big thing that really made me start theorizing that something was a little off about this place, and again, was just my mind, running wild, that side of my mind that hopes to stumble onto a home that a serial killer lived in at one point or something like that, is not long after we got into this place. And again, I'm looking around and I'm immediately thinking like, this is probably a house that like an older man lived in, or at least like an older man maybe with his wife. Because again, there was all these old newspapers and magazines from like the 50s and 60s, kind of scattered around. And there was like an old typewriter from like, that looked like it was from like the 70s. And there was just a lot of stuff that I feel would have belonged to somebody who was my age in like the 1970s, which would make, this person born in like the early 40s or something, which would have made them, by the time of our visit, somebody born in 1940, let's just say, and it's end of 2016. This is somebody who's like, 76 years old now. So I very much got the vibe that this was a home that at least an older man had lived in, potentially with like an older wife, maybe, or whatever. Because everything. And then you've got like the chainsaw parts, and it was just all and then the grinding wheel to like grind your tools. That's very old school. Nothing about this said anything other than some old man lived here and left a bunch of his junk behind. And it seems like made a point of gathering up all their goods from upstairs and then split and left everything else behind. But then, not long after he got into the basement, I don't even think we were in there for 2 minutes, I found a binder, like someone's like probably middle school binder, maybe 6th grade. Like that age where people like have a binder for school and they put stuff on it that represents like, who they are and what they like. I found this notebook or this binder that actually had homework in it, and I wish to God, because I videoed it real quick, but not enough to be able to make out the handwriting. And I wish I would have gotten like a zoom in on some of the homework, because I could have gotten the name of the person who owned the notebook. And it was clearly a binder from like the late 90s. There was like, and it was clearly a girl's binder. I think the binder itself might have been pink. The homework was done in pink. It was a girl's homework, so there you go. But it was very 90s. I want to say there was like a picture of Jonathan Taylor Thomas on there, which of course Jonathan Taylor Thomas was everything to girls in the 90s. And then there was like Will Smith picture, I think, was on there, but it was like, Fresh Prince era Will Smith. So it was definitely, I was getting like mid 90s vibes from this thing. And like it was obvious that it had belonged to a girl who was probably in about middle school age, 11, 12, 13, 14, in the mid 90s, and this was like her binder. And it was just so, it was a great relic because I'm like, oh man, this person was probably about my age. Because I was born in 85. So whoever this girl was, she was probably about my age, if not slightly older. So yeah, it was a cool relic to find, but it also was completely out of place with everything else that was there. All these old man things, and then suddenly there's this teenage girl thing mixed in with it. But I'll tell you now, there was not one thing other than that indicated a like teenage girl had lived in this house, just this notebook. And it just started making my wheels spin. And I started getting the feeling like, why does this house look like whoever lived in it got a bunch of their stuff together and then bailed? And they bailed so quickly that they remembered to lock their doors, but they also left everything in the basement behind. They just abandoned everything in the basement. It was very, very interesting. It seemed like whoever had lived in there left really quick, whatever the circumstances were. And I just wonder why, if that is the case. What led to these people leaving as quick? What kind of desperate thing might have been going on to lead whoever the last person was that lived there to, like, it reminded me of when I left home. I had a big falling out with my dad. I was kind of haphazardly living with my mom, but I knew I had to at some point go back home and move all my stuff out. But I didn't want to see my dad at the time. And so my dad made the foolish mistake of texting me and saying, I'm going out of town for the weekend. And I called my friend and said, hey, let's move all my stuff out. And we spent about 8 hours moving my stuff. We moved stuff till about 4 in the morning, till we literally were just too exhausted to function anymore. And we did a pretty good job moving most of my stuff out because we were in kind of a rush to do it. Like, we need to get whatever we can. One thing I forgot to do in all my haste to move out was I left a bunch of shit in the basement. I forgot to take my stuff out of the basement. So I could see how somebody who's in a rush to leave might gather a bunch of stuff together and split, and then all of a sudden be like, oh crap, I forgot to check the basement. So you have a house that's empty upstairs, locked up and empty upstairs, but a wide open doorway into a basement with a whole bunch of shit left behind. Like, it didn't correlate. And, of course, this could have been, again, this could have been a family who had a daughter who had a notebook. And that's why there was this notebook found there. But even then, like, why would there be, like, literally nothing else in that basement signified a young girl or even a woman had lived in that house? And, I don't know how long the house had been abandoned, but it certainly didn't look like it'd been abandoned for over 20 years. And this notebook, this, binder would have been about 20, 22 years old by the time of our visit. And so I'm thinking, like, there's nothing else that a girl would own in this basement. And yet there's this notebook that had to have been left in that basement for a long time. And I'm just like, why is this here? And nothing else is. And I started, my theorization. I started theorizing, because I'm big on studying crime, unsolved crimes, unsolved mystery. I'm doing a string of unsolved murder mystery videos right now on my channel, which is maybe part of the reason why I would want to talk about this story, is because it might connect somehow. But I'm admitting right now, my mind wants to go there. Could this be a serial killer or something, or some unsolved murder case? My mind likes to go there. I'm just saying, here's a house that has some oddities to it, and it also appears to be a house that no woman lived in, and yet there's this random, 12, 13-year-old girl's notebook mixed in there with all this stuff. And then there were these dirty, old, raggedy stuffed animals that kind of popped up from time to time. I maybe saw 4 or 5 of them every, so often. A stuffed animal would pop up. That was the only thing that even correlated that a girl or children in general would have been in the vicinity of that house at all. And again, this is a house out in the middle of nowhere. And I just started to think, I really genuinely started to wonder, and I pondered going back there. I just haven't had the ride. And it would be a little bit of an imposition for like someone else to give me a ride because it's a little bit of a drive. But I contemplated going back out there just to sneak into the house again, to go in and get that notebook, just so that I would have the assignments inside and I could actually see what the name was of the girl whose assignments they were. Because I started getting this vibe that, like, what if? It's a long shot, but what if this was maybe some sketchy weirdo loner? Creeper, pedophile, killer, I don't know. Who was living in this isolated house out in the middle of nowhere. He could, if he could get victims, he could probably do what he wanted because nobody was out there to see what he was doing, really. It just really did not make sense to me that this one item was here and nothing else was. And it made me wonder, like, serial killers keep relics, or even killers in general. You don't necessarily be a serial killer, but, lots of people who kill or assault, they will keep relics of their victims. And I just started seeing, what if this was like a sketchy guy living out in this house by himself? Maybe, maybe, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. But again, just maybe, he's living out there by himself and he has some weird fantasies and he goes around and he ends up abducting a girl, 12-year-old girl who's on her way home. I don't know if there were any schools in the area. This is pretty rural Oregon. I mean, not too far away, but far enough out there. You gotta go like southeast of the Portland metropolitan area for a while. I mean, even past like places like Estacada would be. Again, I don't really remember exactly where it was offhand. I know it was off of a highway, but I can't. I mean, I don't remember specifically what highway we were on. It was Highway 20, Highway 26. I really don't know. I don't really remember. I didn't really take a lot of video before we got there because I was trying to save battery life. So it was like we weren't far enough east to where we were like in the Cascades, but or like where the vegetation starts to change and the trees start looking different. But yeah, it was a little ways out there. It still felt like it was probably from Portland. It was like an hour drive, maybe 45. No, probably more like an hour, 70 minutes. I don't know, something like that. And I just started getting this idea of like, what if some guy abducted a girl? He abducts her. Ward Weaver, the guy that kidnapped and killed Ashley Pond and Miranda Gaddis, he grabbed both of them on their way to their bus stop. That's a and creepers and weirdos who want to like abduct children, they'll go after kids when they're going to or coming home from school. So, that was kind of interesting. Is like, not only am I only finding this one thing from this kid there, but it's a school thing. It's some girl's binder. So I could conceivably see someone, you know, sorry, a mission I've never done before started, but it's not really a mission. Um, and I, yeah, it was just really weird. And I could just see, maybe this creepy weirdo abducts a young girl and, takes her back to his weird ass home. And who knows what happens after that. And this guy could have, maybe kept this as a relic of some kind. Now, again, obviously, maybe this was just, if it was an older guy staying there, maybe the granddaughter. But even if somebody was just coming and visiting this guy, why would their notebook just be left there? I couldn't really find a way to fully justify that. It probably isn't really anything. The more I thought about it, the more I couldn't really find reasonable answers as to why this house in the middle of nowhere, with all these old items and sketchy chainsaw parts and stuff scattered everywhere. It was a little Texas Chainsaw Massacre in that basement, which wasn't to say it was still a fun experience, but I just couldn't think of a logical reason why this one item would be there. And then, again, reconciling the idea that a lot of young girls that get abducted by freaks and weirdos, they get abducted on their way to or coming from school. So, if this girl gets nabbed in that way, she's going to have her notebook on her. And again, this is a reason why I'm sorry, my nose is so itchy. It gets really dry at the end of the day. And I have a perpetual issue of just having an itchy nose. It's not even an allergy thing. My nose just gets really itchy. But that's another reason why I really wished I would have gotten a better view of the name on the homework in the notebook, and why I've seriously contemplated going back there just to not even necessarily take the notebook, but at least get a good image of a homework assignment and get down the name of the girl whose assignments were in that notebook. Because then I would at least have a name that I could look up. Like, her name is, I don't know, Mary Johnson. Um, and, I look into that and I discover, oh, there's a Mary Johnson missing from Oregon who's been missing since 1995, or, a time period that would be in sync with when that thing went missing. And, who knows? Again, extremely unlikely. But what if, all of a sudden I discover that someone with the same name as the name on this homework, someone with the same name has been missing since the mid 90s, and this notebook clearly has stuff on it from the mid 90s, and for all I know I could have unintentionally solved a cold case, one of those situations where somebody's daughter vanished like 25 years ago and they have no clue what happened to her. And then me and my friend, I randomly see this abandoned house and me and my friend stumble into there. And all of a sudden, what do we find but the homework belonging to some girl in this scenario that doesn't really make sense? And then, you almost hope that you could, if you do find information in that regard, you could help, like, oh my God, I feel like even if the property still belongs to someone, I feel like I would get, um, I feel like they'd give me a break if, you know, we were actually trespassing, because we would have uncovered this unsolved murder case. And I feel like we'd probably be given a break. Um, And obviously, fear of being busted for trespassing would not be enough for me to not say anything if I verifiably, um, helped solve a case like that. And I just wonder, I really wonder, um, if maybe there is something to this theory. I'm not one to just kind of blindly say, "Oh, this is weird. Must be something a serial killer did. That's strange. It must be something some infamous this or that did." It's not even about me getting recognition. It's not about me getting, I can be like, "Oh, we're going back to this house," and then finding stuff, and then I can do a series talking about how, "Oh, I found this homework assignment and it belonged to this cold case victim," and then I can, milk that for all it's worth. It's not about that, obviously. It's more about just like, you know, oh my God, like what if? And then, helping, you know, possibly put a struggling family at ease who's maybe been missing a loved one. But again, the odds of that being the reality of the situation are so small that, as much as I've wanted to go out and maybe see, to maybe get this homework and get the name to see if I could, verify if maybe this is potentially, see if there's at least enough there to like where I could contact authorities and a detective, or whoever's been like looking into the case, and they could like look into it and see if there's actually something to this. And if there is, then there is. Um, but I haven't had the greatest amount of urgency because the odds are slim to none that that is the case. But I just got a little bit of it, and then even the periodic stuffed animals, which don't really coincide with the Notebook, because the Notebook is clearly someone who was a teenager, like an early teenager, and stuffed animals, that's something you more give to a kid that's under the age of 10, or even under the age of like 8. So I got a little bit of a, if not a serial killer, I got at least still a little bit of a pedophilic vibe about this place, and I could already see, I was almost seeing like, what was his name? He was called the Vampire of Brooklyn, I think. Albert Fish. Albert Fish, if nobody knows, was an infamous serial killer, um, many decades ago. I think primarily in the 40s. I don't know him as well as other serial killers. I want to say he did most of his killing in the 40s, and um, he loved violence. He was one of those people that was really into like S&M type stuff, and he loved being like personally like whipped and stuff. And he would abduct kids and cook them and eat them. He was cannibal. Um, and I just kind of got Albert Fish vibes, to be honest. Which again, an extreme length to go to it. Here was a guy that nabbed kids, however he had to. He would grab them as a victim of opportunity. I know one of his last victims he got to because he was answering an ad about someone asking to for someone who could provide help for one of their children, and he answered the ad and he met their daughter, which the ad wasn't even for the daughter, it was for their son. And he said in a note later that the moment he saw her, he decided he was going to eat her. Now, of course, I'm not saying that the place we went to, the guy that lived here, he was a serial killer and a pedophile and a cannibal. I'm just saying that I got some Albert Fish vibes from this guy, and I'm not fully convinced that my ideas as to what maybe was going on in this strange little abandoned house don't have a foundation. I don't know if it's as far fetched as I want to think it is. And I really wish I'd taken the name down. And I mean, it's been a little over 3.5 years since this happened. For all I know, the house isn't even there anymore. I have no idea. I don't even know if I could find it now because at the time I made sure to monitor where we were going, but now all this time's passed and all that information I kept about making sure I remember where the house was is gone. Again, I only have like a general idea of where the house was, so I don't even know if I'd be able to find it again. And obviously, I was going to call the police and be like, "Hey, I got some vibes about this house. You want to go out there and check? Maybe it's involved with some missing kid thing." I mean, even if I was to like look up like all like a big, because you can find big listings of like missing persons in various places, and like look up like missing persons cases. Probably keeping a focus on Oregon, but like from between like 1993 and 1998, and seeing how many like girls in that teenage range went missing. But even then, I wouldn't know definitively if any of these disappeared girls matched the notebook, unless or the binder that I found, unless somehow amidst the information that was given about them was, last time they were seen, they were going to school and they had their favorite binder that had pictures of this, and that on it, and then I could go back and be like, oh, well, those pictures match this perfectly. But what are the odds of that happening? Odds of that happening are slim to none. But yeah, it was just a very interesting adventure. In my mind, I've never quite, I don't want to say gotten over that, but I've never quite stopped. Like you have a wild idea and then it kind of fades, but I've never really stopped thinking about that as a possibility. That these could have been mementos or forgotten artifacts kept behind by some twisted freaking lunatic that lived in this house. I mean, it was a perfect house for a recluse weirdo to live in. That's without a doubt. And I don't know. I'm not convinced that my wild thoughts on the matter are as wild as I want to think they are. I just wish I would have gotten a better view of that notebook. I've looked at it because I opened it when I was taking video. I opened it very briefly. And you see me quickly look at the homework, but my camera's a little bit out of focus and it just didn't quite. God damn it. Right when I wanted to go a certain way, this car got in my way. The video was a little bit out of focus, and the homework assignment on top was written in pink ink, so it was pink ink on white paper, like you could barely make out the writing in general. So unfortunately, it's just too out of focus for me to know, for me to be able to read anything, much less the name that might have been at the top of the homework assignment. So, oh my god, now this fucker's gonna get in my way. Why is there constantly so? Okay, never mind, he's not gonna get in my way. Oh no, that's water. So, I don't know. It's weird. Um, and I've explored places that I've gotten weird vibes from. There was a house that I think has since been torn down that I never explored inside. It was another house, and I'm pretty sure somebody actually owned this house at the time of because unlike that other house, this house was actually boarded up, and even though I couldn't get in there, it was so musty inside. I could smell the moldy mustiness inside, even though I couldn't even get into the house. And yeah, I got a little bit of a weird vibe, and of course, you make mistakes. I got weird vibes later on from this house too, and I realized, like, I couldn't get into the house, and I wasn't even certain it was abandoned or anything like that. And then I realized, after I'd stopped by and then left, it was almost like there was a garage under the house, and it had like the two like wood doors that close that have to be kind of locked up. Like you had to put a padlock between them. So I could have easily turn my flashlight on. You could spread the doors open, and I could have videoed into that garage space and flashed a light on it and seen what was in that particular area. And, maybe seen something weird. I don't know. But after I visited this house, and just kind of walked around it, I had a really creepy dream about it where I like had gone to the house and gone inside. And when I went inside, I saw like a big black bag sitting on the floor. And my first thought was there's a dead body in that bag. And the moment I had that thought, this ringing started very softly, and then it started growing really quick to a point where it was just like this, like, and it was like overwhelming and just freaking me out. And of course, I ran to leave the house, and I couldn't get the door to open. The door was locked. And then as everything peaked, in that moment, I woke up. Scared the shit out of me. Gives me it weirds me out even now. Just reflecting on it gives me goosebumps. So, so yeah, that was another house that I got weird vibes from, even though I didn't get to explore it. It's just crazy. And yeah, it's unfortunate that I blew it. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know, man. But God, good God Almighty, I want to urbex again. I seriously haven't done it in like 3 years, and I miss it. And again, I'm contemplating how to, set something up to where like I can at least get a few people together, and we can maybe do again like a weekend type thing. Because like, if I'm gonna explore, say, Central Oregon, like I discussed doing, I'd really like to, have something a little bit elongated. I don't want to just be able to go out and explore for only like 8 hours if I'm going to be going that far. I want to actually like, put a little bit of time into it, and just go and just explore and just, video like crazy. I would, gosh, God, I miss that so much. And just, unfortunately, just a lot of things have gotten in the way. Well, obviously, I'm doing a lot. I mean, obviously, I'm not hurt for creating content. I'm constantly creating content. I'm overwhelming myself with content. But still, that's an element of my YouTube that I want to get back into. That I kind of started doing, because originally my channel was my channel was really about just finding interesting landmarks. That's really how it started. And then it kind of became a little bit more about urbexing, because me and Nick were urbexing a lot together. And then when that started becoming less and less, it started becoming more about me doing what I could with what limited resources I had. So I really want to get out and start urbexing again. Believe you me. Oh my God. Oh God, I'm gonna die. Yeah, I died. So yeah, so that is, it took me forever to get there, and it took me a while to get through it. But yeah, that's the story of this weird house that me and my friend urbexed through. I really feel like there's nothing else to really add to the story. I feel like I drew it out as much as I possibly could. I'm probably going to go to bed before too long. It is, after all, almost 4 in the morning, and my sleep cycle is just, again, took no time to get messed up again. So, yeah, anybody has any... Whoa, don't fight me, dude. I got no quarrel with you. I didn't do anything to you. God, this guy will not go down. Thank you. Okay, yeah, this guy wants to mess with me now. Oh, yeah, you saw I had a weapon and now you ran away. Anyway, if anybody has any questions about the story I just told, any thoughts about it, any ideas about, or any questions about stuff, obviously if it's something I don't feel comfortable answering, I won't answer it. But yeah, anything about my channel, anything about other videos I've done, I'm kind of just gonna ride this vlog out. I know there's only a few people watching. It is, after all, almost 4 in the morning. Well, yeah, if you got any thoughts, ideas, questions, comments, now is about as good a time as ever to throw them my way, because I'm just hanging out now. Probably going to go before too long, so don't wait forever. Because if you wait too long to ask me a good question, you may end up being too late. Speaking of too late, I think it's too late for my guy, because they're coming. The police are coming for me because I'm just constantly making problems. And looking damn fine doing it. I wonder if I can get into this building. It just seems like a very unnecessary staircase. Nope, I ain't gonna get into this house, and that means I'm gonna get shot. Yeah, reload your gun, dingus. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah, I saw you coming a mile away, idiot. Reload. Reload. Every time I get done, somebody else shows up. Story of my life. No questions? Comments? Nothing? I know, I feel like I have to make up for the fact that, like, my last live stream, I didn't even have my... I was so zoomed in that the comments section wasn't even visible to me, and there was, like, actually a lot of, like, comments being left, like, hey, how's this? Hey, what's up with that? And I wasn't answering them because I wasn't even aware the questions were being asked. And so yeah, now I feel like, hey, here I am. Throw some questions my way, or not even questions, thoughts, suggestions. I mean, I know Portland pretty well, but still, people will sometimes be like, hey, have you ever checked this place out? Hey, have you ever looked at this? And sometimes it's stuff I haven't thought about. I've definitely, some of the videos I've done have been as a result of being told by somebody else, hey, have you heard of this place? And then I go there, and it ends up being actually a pretty cool experience. So, yeah, don't be bashful. Oh, God, well, that guy just screwed me over. Dude, you need to get out of here. You are in trouble. You got blood on you. You got blood. Oh, God, well, I'm going to kill some of you guys. Nope, that didn't work out. So wait, so it's June 11th. Yes, that's another interesting thing is I just suddenly got this drive. So it would have been yesterday. It would have been June 10th. I got this wild drive on June 10th to start really diving into the Hill family murders that happened. Let's see, about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, we're about 16 pages of notes on the case today, just taken from old newspapers and resources that I found. And I started doing this, before midnight, so it was June 10th. June 9th, 1911 is when the Hill family was murdered. So I suddenly got a wild drive to do this only a day after the 109-year anniversary of the case, and still never been solved. And I didn't remember exactly what. I just remember it happened in 1911, but I didn't remember what time of year. And lo and behold, I was only one day after the anniversary of it before I started researching it. And again, I've been kind of contemplating it, and then someone came on. I think one of my don't remember if it was on this live stream or if it was on something or just a comment on a video, but someone came and asked me if I had done a video on the Hill family murder, and if I didn't, would I be interested? And I was like, yeah, I've contemplated that. And now here I am just diving into it. I'm a busy man. World. I've still got a bunch of these like murder mystery videos to do for the series of videos I'm doing. Got to get some of my Sun River video up, or more of my videos from my Sun River trip up. And I have a feature film that I'm going to shoot when this freaking quarantine garbage ends, if it ends. One thing I don't get is they say we're about to go into phase 1 in Portland. And what I don't get is, I haven't checked the day by day numbers of new quarantine cases much recently. I was doing it, every single day when it first started because COVID-19 was a big new thing. And, we've been lucky in Oregon. We've had a lot fewer cases than most other places. Some places are getting a couple thousand a day. But Oregon, on average, has gotten between like 50 and between like 30 and 60 cases on average. There's been a few days where we've, been up there around 100, but they're not that common. And just like less than a week ago, it said how many new cases happened in Oregon. It was 92, and I'm like, okay, well, that's more cases than we had normal in like April, like late April into May, and that was supposed to be when we were hitting our apex, and here we are getting like 100 some cases, and I'm just like they said June 12th, and it's June 11th, so theoretically in like 20 hours, phase 1's going to begin in Portland, and I'm like, there's going to be so many people that aren't going to pay any damn attention. They're going to hear phase 1 and think, oh, everything's fine now. I can go out and get freaking crazy. Which is not great. Yeah, I just want to see how many cases, the most recent day, how many cases were in Oregon. Because I go to this Worldometers page that keeps like a constant update on the total number of coronavirus cases. No, never mind. I was just about to say almost 8 billion, but that's just the number of people on Earth. Yeah, almost 7.5 million total cases, 419,489 deaths, almost 4 million recovered. Of course, the U.S. is, but yeah, I just want to see how many new cases in Portland the most recent day. Because again, we've been on average, it's like 30 to 60. Like it's not that bad. And here we are. Tomorrow we're going to go into phase 1. So tomorrow we're going to start, at least that's the plan. So tomorrow we're going to start acting like it's not as bad. Well, I'm interested in seeing how many, and it might not show new cases. Yeah, it's not. But yeah, we just broke 5,000. How many new cases Oregon day by day? I'm just curious how we've been doing as a state recently. Yeah, it's already, it's just by this graphic I'm seeing, like right at the end of May, we were really dropping, and now just a couple days ago we had our worst day overall. Of course, most of them are focused in the Willamette Valley, but that's because it's where everybody lives. Actually, quite a few in Pendleton. But yeah, even so, we're only at 1,369 cases in Multnomah County. That's total. That's not just how many people have it right now. That's total. So 1,369 people in a county that has probably almost a million people. How many people are in Multnomah County? Look at me going off on a side tangent. Population. So 812,855 as of last year. That's interesting because I feel like there'd be at least, because it's predominantly Portland and Gresham is Oregon's fifth largest town. So I feel like they'd have a really, really high population too. And Portland's already almost 700,000. How many people live in Gresham? Only 110,000 people live in Gresham. I feel like there should be so much more. I thought Gresham's population was like 250,000 or something like that. Because Multnomah County is pretty much. I mean, Troutdale's only 16,000 people. See, I feel like Troutdale's like almost 100,000 people, but no. Actually, its population has been dropping a little bit. That's interesting. But anyway, yeah, Multnomah County is pretty much Portland, Gresham, Fairview, Troutdale, Wood Village. But yeah, still, there's over 800,000 people in Multnomah County, and only 1,369 have gotten COVID-19. And I found, I don't remember what it was called, but I found a really good site that was, it gave the number of COVID-19 cases you got based on your zip code. So I was actually able to see how many people literally in my little area have gotten COVID-19. And it was like, it's probably like 3 weeks to a month ago when I checked it. But even so, it would have been like mid-May when I saw it. And even then, after COVID-19 had been going crazy for about 2.5 months, there was only 16 reported cases in my zip code. And again, that was total. Half of those people, if not more, could have had it in like March and already been over it by that point. I don't remember the name of the site, so I don't know how to get back to it. Actually, I could probably find it pretty easily, though. Subscribe to me at Steve the Amateur Historian on YouTube, by the way. Just go do it because I told you to, and I'm here and I'm thinking about it right now. Yeah, by zip code. Oregon coronavirus, in fact, it's just on Oregon Live. Okay, well, I made that harder than it had to be. Yes, you gotta zoom in. Yeah, I'm just curious how much this has changed. I'm not clicking on you. Mill Park, Powers, Gilbert. Okay, I'm kind of getting closer to my area. Hang on with the map form. The map is a little wait. Okay. Oh wait, what? Oh no, this says yeah, this says that there's actually been a few cases at Cherrywood Village. Cherrywood Village is right up the street from me. It's the big it's a really big retirement complex. I was not aware that they had actually had cases there. I thought that they were evading it. So that really sucks. But this is our zip code. And it's providing dots like where cases have happened. At least that's what it looks like. What is the but it's not like telling us, there's not like the legend that says, or maybe, okay, no, here we go. Okay, yeah, so the Rockwood area, the next zip code to our east, has had 96 cases, and they have a population of 41,000. We've only had, so literally, because I said we had about 15, 16 cases when I checked a month ago, it still says our zip code, there's only been 15 cases. So literally, there hasn't been a new case in our whole zip code in like a month. And we have almost 17,000 people in this zip code. 51 people in the zip code north of us. But again, you know, you've got places with much bigger populations. Buckman. Yeah, Montevilla. But yeah. So, where is it the worst? Oh man. It's hitting Fairview pretty hard. I mean, 72 cases out of 10,000 people. That's considered hitting Portland really hard. Yeah, 190. Yeah, I've noticed that that area. You know, it looks like the only places that they're giving us markers are for like healthcare places and nursing homes. Oh my God. So this place called Healthcare at Foster Creek, 119 cases, 29 deaths. I haven't heard anybody talking about that. That explains why, because this is the zip code that's just directly diagonal southeast of my zip code. And I was like, why is it so much higher there than like everywhere else? And then I see they have had 190 cases, but 119 of them have been from this one healthcare place. So, God, it's running rampant there. Like Cherry Blossom has said, there's been like 5 or 6 cases, and that's all together. So I hope those are old cases that have come and gone. Yeah, so like some of these assisted living places, just like handful of cases. Laurelhurst Village, 48 cases, 4 deaths. Yeah, down here in Gladstone, where I live, there's been less than 10. There's been like no cases. Oh man, you start heading out to Forest Grove. That's right, because well, it makes sense that Forest Grove would have a decent number of cases, because like one of the first cases in Oregon was in Forest Grove. I came here to talk about my stuff, and now I'm talking about freaking. Oh man, yeah, Woodburn's getting hit pretty hard. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, you know, even Portland, like, it's surprising how minimal the impact has been, other than, you know, a few rest homes. Yeah, Eugene has not been hit. We really just, there's only a few pockets that have been really badly hit. And a lot of places that have really dark markers, it's because they have a few cases, but nobody actually like lives there. Sugar Creek Correctional Institution, 25. Wait, isn't there like another prison in Oregon that's actually having like, there was something, I don't think it was like this. Oh, wait, what's this? This might be it. Yeah, Santiam Correctional Institution, 8 inmates, 6 cases. Oh, yeah, Oregon State Penitentiary, 131 cases, 34 staff cases, so 165 altogether. And then you go out to these places, and like literally the whole coastal range, there's been like nothing. Like literally between Hillsborough and Tillamook, like nothing. There's Bend, and yeah. Trying to. This doesn't really show the highways very well. Is this it? I'm trying to see Sun River because I just was at Sun River, but I think this might be Sun River that I'm seeing. The like scattered, but yeah, less than 10. And I heard that there was like one COVID-19 case that had happened there, and it looks like that's still the case. So there's like been like one or two cases. So yeah, that's going on. I'm sorry. Somebody asked me a question. Nah. Again, not that I was expecting anything. I'm just kind of screwing around now. It's after 4 a.m. I need to go to bed. I've been working out more. That's just letting you guys know. I was having all kinds of body aches. It was mostly muscle aches from a lack of activity thanks to quarantine. Look at this. Now, mind you, I've never had great upper body strength, and my arms, like literally my arm here, was, oh my god, look at my elbow from resting on it so long. Like literally up here was about as thick as this. And so it literally, when I flexed, my arm would look like that. Now I flex and there's like a little, there's not much, but there's a little bit like it would be like that. And see, there's like a little bit of flab down there, but it's tightening up. I've been doing a lot of arm and chest muscle workout exercises because I was just having like abdominal muscle soreness and like leg muscle soreness. And my knees were bugging me, and my elbows were bugging me, and my upper arm muscles were bugging me. And it's because I was getting no activity. My joints were tightening up and atrophying, and my muscles were wasting away. And so I had to get back on top of that. And I've actually been. I feel like I've been better than I've been in years in the last like week or so in terms of getting good physical activity and going beyond my usual thing of going on runs and things like that, and doing plenty to strengthen my legs, but not doing anything to strengthen the rest of my body. Alas. I know this sucks. Like, there was so many comments the other night, and I was vlogging at the same time, and I was getting so many comments and from people and some questions, and I didn't even notice it until I was done vlogging. And now here I am, like, throw something at me, and no questions or comments. Nothing from the peanut. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, asking you shall receive. I don't know much about that. I don't really know much about that case. I think when I was doing some of my research earlier, because I was researching a lot of stuff around the turn of the century for my video I'm going to do on the Hill family murder, and I saw that name pop up, but I haven't researched any further. So I don't really know much about that yet, but I recognize that name, Harry Tracy. So I would need to look more at that to get a better vibe. Excuse me, world. It's probably what happens when you stay up super late. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I never sleep, all the way through the night. Once I fall asleep, I'm gonna wake up, within 2, 3, 4 hours of, when I first go to sleep, and then you kind of come and go. But last night, I slept through the night. I went to bed really late, and I woke up at I went to bed at about 4, woke up at like 12:30. Didn't wake up at all during the night. Never happens. Never happens for me. So that was a rarity, and I woke up exhausted. So, I mean, I got my sleep, but it was like my body was so not used to sleeping that long that it almost penalized me for my efforts. I'm also going to need to, I'm going to need to get a allergy med before I go to bed. My nose is clogging up. Yeah, the allergies have not been kind to me the past month, but I don't have them as bad as other people, so can't complain. But yeah, I have a kind of a big murder mystery video that I did that I'm gonna probably want to post kind of soon. I did it like a month ago. And then yeah, I'm gonna do a pretty in-depth look into the Hill murders in 1911. I mean, because it kind of reminds me of not quite as iconic, but it kind of reminds me of the Hinterkaifeck murders that happened. And that was like, a whole family that got mysteriously killed. And I believe they lived on a farm too, which I don't think the Hill family actually had a farm, but a lot of other people in the area did. I know there was like a dairyman who lived in that area who, would go out in early morning hours and milk his cows. Even if the Hills weren't farmers, they lived in a very farmer friendly area where the houses were spread out and there were farmers living in the area. But anyway, that's upcoming. Yeah, so I think my plan for my immediate future on this channel is probably getting my Sun River videos up as quickly as possible, because they're time sensitive in that, they're from a recent trip, and like obviously all the videos from Sun River are going to be shown as being from Sun River. So if I spread them out over like a month, it makes it look like I stayed in Sun River for like a month, and I'm like, no, we were just there a couple days. And I maintain quarantine, even though like practically nobody in Sun River has gotten coronavirus, but rode these horrible bikes. Like, we knew there was a lot of trails and I'd be able to do some bicycling, but oh my god, the bicycles that were at this house for us to use were the worst. They weren't like 5 speeds, so you pretty much could not drive uphill at all. There was no way. So yeah, you were just screwed. Oh my god, my nose is itching so bad. The allergens. So yeah, so my plan is probably posting as much of that content as I can, sprinkling in, you know, some of these murder mystery videos, and then ultimately finally getting a start on season 3 of Historic Murders of Portland, which I've already done. I shot the videos for that back in like January and February and got them done right before all this COVID-19 nonsense started taking effect. So I have like 13, 14 episodes for season 3 of that. And as is only fair when you're breaking things up into individual seasons, I posted the last video, and now I'm giving a couple videos. Sorry, I'm fading. What's happening? Where am I going? Where is it taking me? I don't know. I got in a cab in the game, and they're taking me somewhere. Sorry, now I'm getting really sniffly. I did not ask to come here, but I guess, it is what it is. Now, what are you looking at, dude? Yeah, you shouldn't have bugged me. I didn't do anything to you. I will fight you. Yeah, get some. As the kids are still saying that, right? So yeah, and I've talked in previous videos about, my immediate future plans with my channel, and I've got a lot of videos still to do. A lot of videos I have done. It's a whole thing. It's just a big old thing. So I've got 2 series I'm working on. I've got, a couple of big videos that I'm doing. And I'm gonna, especially because, I got so wiped out from a lack of, real good exercise. I really want to start, obviously, playing it safe. I really want to start gradually going out and doing videos again, outside, outdoors, real adventures, like what I used to do. Yeah, one, because I really want to, because I haven't done it in forever, but beyond that, is like, health benefits, health aspects. I need to get out and, fuck, almost destroyed someone's house, dude. So yeah, and I may be going back to work as early as July 3rd. That is at least the time that my workplace, which I haven't been at since March 12th, that's when they're thinking they might open back up. That's tentative. But if that's the case, I've only got about 3 more weeks, about 3.5 more weeks of quarantine. But my workplace is only hiring back like a quarter of the staff to start because it's a theater and there's no real new releases coming out. So we're going to be playing some like older stuff, and only allowing so many people in. So we're only going to need so many employees because there's barely going to be anything going on and barely anybody showing up. But it's, slowly working your way back in like anything else. So I'm hoping to be, because I kind of just want to go back to work, but I also, I don't want to get too subjected to the elements out there just because they tell us we're in phase 1, phase 2, phase 10, phase 12, whatever. Doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything's safe. So, a part of me, just for like, the change, the shift in monotony, and to see some people that I haven't seen in months, that I was used to seeing every, several times a week. That's nice. But also, there's the part of me that wants to, be safe. There's a part of me that wants to keep, have a little bit more time to work on movies and videos and stuff and just get, other stuff taken care of. And also, I'm making a lot more money in unemployment than I am at my job, which is just a sign of how messed up, our system is, that I'm literally making like 3 times in unemployment. I'm making like 3 times. That door just opened by its. I swear to God, this door just opened by itself down the hallway. This is turning into a freaking. Oh man, this is turning into like a haunted video. I swear to God, this door was not open. I'm being haunted. Like seriously, this door was not open. I think there's somebody in this basement with me. I'm gonna shut my Xbox down. Done with you. I'm going to bed soon. I'm just like, that was weird. I just looked over and suddenly this door into like our laundry room was open because I can see the light hitting the ground here. And I literally, this was all dark. whole time videoing, and I just looked and I swear I saw the light slowly coming out. Okay, I guess I don't think I'm being haunted, but I don't know, that was weird. That was weird. There's no cat. I was thinking maybe one of the cat bumped the door open. Nope, just me. Well, that weirded me out a little bit. Okay. Right back where I started. I'll plug you in. Try to get up at I guess getting up at a reasonable time is getting up before 1, now that it's 4:30 in the morning. So yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to probably take a few more Hill Family Murder notes. I need to start shifting into working on stuff for my film, because I may actually be able to start shooting my film in a couple of weeks at the rate things are going. A lot of stuff. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling about as good. I felt about as good in the last 2 days as I felt in the last almost a year. Just from walking around enough and starting to do a lot more like physical activity stuff and kind of rebuilding my muscles a little bit. Never realized and was never truly grateful for how much my regular day job actually did in giving me like some upper body strength. Having to constantly use my arms, my hands, and pick up and move stuff and carry things around. But yeah, I'm probably mostly going to take some more Hill murder notes. I promised my girlfriend I'd watch a movie with her tomorrow night, so that's where the evening is going. And by the way, where the hell is summer? I know it's technically not summer for like another 10 days, but it's been like, it was kind of muggy today. It was pretty warm and it was mostly dry, but my God, it's been like 60 and rainy. What is the Portland weather forecast going to be? Today it's going to be 71 and cloudy, which is fine, but then literally it's going to rain for the next 5 days, and the hottest day is going to be 67. It's June. Come on. This is what happens, though. We have a little bit of nice weather during the spring. They give us a couple more extra nice days in February and March, and then just our summer gets screwed. Okay, yeah, so it looks like in about a week, maybe we're going to start getting into the higher 70s. Well, they also say the hotter it gets, the weaker COVID gets, with the heat and the sunlight just bearing down. I saw a study that said once it breaks 70 with like 70% humidity, COVID-19 dies. Like if somebody coughs the virus out into the air outside, the virus dies within 2 minutes. So I'm figuring if it gets up to like 80 degrees, it probably dies in a minute or less. And if it gets up to 90, it dies in like 30 seconds. Wouldn't that be nice? I'd love for COVID-19 to just fuck right off, but, we got a deal. All right, it's officially 4:30 in the morning. I'm wiped out. I need to go to sleep. I'm all stuffed up. I gotta get some allergy meds. Gotta brush my teeth, and I gotta pass out. So, thank you for joining me on these. Would it kill me to just do a live stream at like 7 o'clock at night? Probably. I'd probably get a lot more people watching if I wasn't constantly starting my live streams at like 1 in the morning or whatever. But anyway, for those few of you that did show up, thank you so much. I appreciate it. As long as I remember and I'm not too wiped out tomorrow, I will be posting something. I'll be posting a video tomorrow, just so you know. And till then, see you all next time. Thanks for those of you that dropped by. This has been Steve the Amateur Historian.